Okay, folks, it says we're streaming, so we'll get started here, and we'll see how we do. Yes, there will be.
Oh, that one time. It really wasn't that big. It's big and I can't be bad.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials, and our friends and followers on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to the March 24th City Council meeting. We have seven items on our agenda this evening. This is a first for being back in, well, second for being back in council, but a first for this new platform that we have for bringing the meetings to you. So this is our maiden voyage. I hope it goes better than the Titanic did, but there may be some glitches this evening. Everybody just bear with us. And we'll start out, if everybody would, with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we will move on to roll call. Ms. Fleckner, whenever you're ready, please.
Thank you, President Arnold. Phillips?
Present.
Payne? Here. Nickerson? Here. Tapman?
Here.
Lewis?
Here.
Gillum?
Here.
Shoemaker? Corcoran?
Here.
And Prohl.
Here.
Mr. Shoemaker notified me that he wouldn't be available this evening. Do I have a motion by Mrs. Payne, seconded by Mr. Phillips, to excuse Mr. Shoemaker this evening? Roll call on the motion to excuse him, please.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne? Yes. Nickerson? Yes. Tapman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
And Prohl.
Yes.
And Mr. Shoemaker has been excused from our meeting. The minutes from the previous meeting have dispersed. Do we does anybody have any corrections, or do we have a motion to accept the minutes as they are? Minutes? Motion? Motion by Ms. Nickerson, seconded by Ms. Lewis. Roll call on the motion to accept the minutes as they are.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne? Yes. Nickerson? Yes. Tapman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
And Prohl.
Yes.
And minutes have been approved as they are dispersed. We'll move on to our reports from our committees. Find out which camera we go to now. And we'll start out. With Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, President Arnold. Community Affairs has no agenda items on this evening's agenda and nothing new to report. Thank you.
And we'll move to Mrs. Payne.
Thank you, President Arnold. Human Resources does not have an item on the agenda this evening and no new information to report on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll move to our development
Thanks, President Arnold. Development doesn't have anything on the agenda tonight, so we have nothing to report. Thank you.
Nickerson, okay. Nothing, all right. Okay, thank you. See where we go from here. Let's make camera shots here. And we will move to Seal, I moved you and I've got you in a different spot, and I'll bring the camera to you.
Would you like me to go?
Yes, so we'll have a report from our Parks and Rec, Ms. Courtney.
Parks and Rec, have
Push
no,
your button. There you go. Just leave it on.
the Parks and Rec committee has no legislation on our agenda this evening. Thank you.
Okay. And of course, one thing that's coming up, which everybody knows, is the Feast of the Flowering Moon will be going on this weekend. Hours on that, is that Thursday through Sunday and then closed on Monday? Is that correct? Is that right?
It usually officially opens Friday
Friday.
at noon, but the vendors, some of them set up Thursday night, and then it is closed on Monday.
Thank you. City Services, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you, President Arnold. City Services has 2 items on the agenda tonight. Number 6, which is first reading of an ordinance appropriating $1,400 for the purchase of automatic door openers for the transit facility lobby restrooms and declaring an emergency. At the appropriate time, I'll ask to waive the 3-read rule so they can get those purchased and taken care of. Then number 7, which is first reading of an ordinance appropriating $2,667.46 for the purchase of a replacement wireless router for the transit department and declaring an emergency. I will also, at appropriate time, waive the 3-read rule. We had a committee meeting last week where these 2 were discussed, as well as 2 other items I'm still working on, which are in regards to taxi cab fees, as well as recycling and refuse. We're looking over those. Other than that, that is all I have.
Thank you very much. And we'll move to our utilities, which is Mr. Tapman.
Thank you, President Arnold. The Utilities Committee has one item tonight. It's number 3, and it's reimbursement by insurance to take care of a utility truck from the water and sewage that got damaged severely. So I won't go into detail. Everybody saw the pictures. But anyhow, at the appropriate time, I will request a waive the 3-read rule. Thank you, President Arnold.
Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Tapman. Yeah, that was quite a image. We'll move on to safety service. And I'll get the camera set up, I hope. Ms. Gillen.
Thank you, President Arnold. Safety Service has nothing on the agenda tonight, and we don't have anything to report this evening.
Thank you. And Mr. Shoemaker is not here this evening. I do know that he had a committee meeting that was dealing with the Tiffin School property, and that he is working on that. There's more legal descriptions and a survey that needs to be done on that. And that will be coming up probably next time. That would be probably next time we meet. And finance, Mr. Cole.
The Finance Committee has 3 items on tonight's agenda. Item number 2, which is an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with the Walter H. Drain Company to update the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, to prepare 20 sets of replacement pages and to update the code on the internet, declaring an emergency. And at the appropriate time, I will ask that we waive the 3-read rule because this is an annual item that we need to have our ordinances available to us. We also have item number 4, which is at first reading as well, and it is an ordinance appropriating $7,300 to cover the costs associated with the city's participation in the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, the MORPC intern program, and declaring an emergency. This money will be reimbursed to us 100%, and so at the appropriate time I will also ask that we waive the 3-read rule. The final item for finance on the agenda tonight is item number 5, which is at first reading, an ordinance appropriating additional funds for expenses that were not included in the 2021 budget and declaring an emergency. And the auditor has asked that we please waive the 3-read rule for these so that these items can be paid for. And I will request that at the appropriate time. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kroll. That concludes all of our committee reports for the evening. At this time, we will move on to the mayor's position. Although he is not here this evening, we have to stand in, which is Carmen, our city service and safety service director. And we will report from Mr. Carmen.
Thank you, President Arnold. On the agenda items, we would support all the items on the agenda, but I would like to specifically talk about number 4. If you get the chance, the intern is working down in the Human Resources Department right now. Stop in, introduce yourself. He's going to be a senior at Ohio University this coming year, and we put him right to work when he got started there, so he hit the ground running. A couple items going on in the city. Bids are in for paving. The engineering department's gone over those right now to make sure everything is appropriate with them, and the project likely will start in June. So we should start seeing paving trucks moving in around June. In the next couple days, you should see some road maintenance work being done. Mostly it's going to be crack sealing, but they're also going to put down, it's called a preservation for the asphalt. A reminder that large item pickup will be starting next week. For the residents, please make sure you put your items out so they're out Monday morning. And if they don't get picked up on that Monday or that Tuesday, please leave them out. We'll be in areas all week long. Sometimes people get a little upset when it's not picked up on that Monday. Just be patient with us, and we'll eventually get to your area. If you've been by the pool, you've noticed that there's water going into it as we speak. We're filling it up. We are not going to open next weekend for Memorial Day weekend. We're going to hold off and open on June 2nd at noon to help comply with the governor's orders as far as his COVID guidelines go. The request for purchase for the master plan for the city will be going out next week. And as was mentioned earlier, the feast will be starting this weekend, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice weekend if people can get out and support that. That's all I have, President Arnold. Thank you.
Mr. Carmen. We'll move on. Our auditor is absent this evening, but we do have a representative here for Ms. Villarreal for our law director, and I'll give you the floor here. So.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, I'm not Anna Villarreal this evening, but I am one of her associates. My name's Jason Miller. I'm a Ross County guy who's back now after about 15-year hiatus as a prosecutor up north, about 100 miles from here. And I was brought back to town by the proposition to work for Ms. Villarreal both in the law director's office and in her private firm. And so I was tapped this evening to come and attend this meeting, which I'm very pleased to do, and thank you. I do want to make a comment about how wonderful it has been to return to a community that has so vastly changed in such a positive way over the last 15 years. My family is still here, of course, and so we've returned somewhat frequently, but to live here now in this community is so different than it was 15 years ago, and I think that really speaks volumes to what this community has done for not only one another, but the legislative body that's in this room has helped facilitate. And it's nice to bring children back to a community that's so thriving. And not every community can say that, especially not in the throes of the COVID pandemic that we've been sort of taxed with. But this community has survived, I think, because of the willingness of its participants. So I'm very pleased to be here. I know there have been some discussions about things involving the possible expansion of the law director's office, and I'm deep in the trenches there and would be happy to field any questions or concerns about that issue. I spent a lot of years up north as the solicitor for a number of different communities, so I've been to a lot of council meetings, but I'm pleased to make this one my first for the city of Chiillicothe, and I am here at your disposal if you want me to be. Thank you.
Very good. Glad to have you. Thanks for coming in. Roll call on the motion.
Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Nickerson, Tatman,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gillum,
Yes.
Corcoran, and Prohl.
Yes.
Ms. Cummins to be on the planning commission for the next 6 years. Moving on to audience participation. Actually, I've got a gallery.
Actually, President Arnold, we did receive something since the last meeting. We are in receipt of a liquor license application received on May 20th from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control.
and it's for a transfer of ownership of the liquor license. It's for Burra Petroleum Ltd., DBA KB Mart at 129 Western Avenue, and it's transferring to Harajo Enterprises, Inc., DBA HD Mart at 129 Western Avenue. Are there any objections to this application?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody have any new business? Yes, Ms. Clark.
Thank you, President Arnold. I would just like to, there were going to be some plantings by the Tree Commission, and they had put out information up on Limestone up in Hesswood area, and they are not going to be doing them just for a few reasons. One being, right now it's a little late to be planting trees, and so that they will be getting back with homeowners, and they can also contact the Parks and Rec Department, and they will be planting those in the fall when it's more conducive for the trees. And I'm the representative for the City Council on the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we've already mentioned the feast this weekend. It's just nice to have events coming back to our area. Also, the opening of the paints, I believe, is May 27th. Many of the museums will start opening back up. And also, just not to forget, Tecumseh will be opening, which is be very nice for the community, June 19th. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, I'm not sure when you bought it, but the reason for the big expense is they took it up to get the maintenance, and there was some pumps and some things that needed some pretty serious repair. So that's the reason for that.
Length of time, it's got quite a bit of use.
Item number 1 is a second reading of an ordinance appropriating $20,091.34 from the HUD Housing Revolving Loan Fund for use toward funding a CHIP grant owner rehabilitation project.
And that will move on to the next meeting. Item number 2, please.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio to enter into an agreement with the Walter H. Drain Company to update the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, to prepare 20 sets of the replacement pages to update the code on the internet, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Kroll,
At this time, I would ask that we please waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive, seconded by Ms. Nickerson. Roll call on that motion.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
Motion has passed. Roll call on the legislation.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 3, please.
First reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating insurance reimbursement funds in the amount of $17,613.43 for a totaled utility truck and declaring an emergency.
Yes, Mr. Tatman?
At this time, I'd like to request that we waive the 3-read rule on this one.
I have a motion to waive, seconded by Mr.
Phillips?
I'll get it, Phillips. Roll call on that motion, please. Sorry, Greg.
It's okay.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
The motion has passed. Roll call on the legislation, please.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 4.
First reading of an ordinance appropriating $7,300 to cover costs associated with the city's participation in the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission intern program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Kroll,
At this time, I would ask that we please waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive, seconded by Ms. Payne. Roll call on that motion.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
And that motion has passed. Roll call on the legislation.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 5.
First reading of an ordinance expenses that were not included in the 2021 budget and declaring an emergency.
At this time, I would ask that we please waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive, seconded by Ms. Lewis. Roll call on that motion.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
Motion has passed. Roll call on the legislation.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 6.
First reading of an ordinance appropriating $1,400 for the purchase of automatic door openers for the transit facility, lobby restrooms, and declaring an emergency.
President Arnold, at this time, I would ask to waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive, seconded by Mr. Phillips. Roll call on that motion.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
Motion has passed. Roll call on the legislation.
Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. And last but not least, item number 7.
First reading of an ordinance appropriating $2,667.46 for the purchase of a replacement wireless router for the Transit Department and declaring an emergency.
And President Arnold, at this time, I'd ask to waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive, seconded by Mr. Prohl. Roll call on that motion.
Phillips?
C.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson? Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? And Prohl.
Yes.
And motion has passed. Roll call on the legislation.
Phillips?
Yes.
Kane? Yes. Nickerson? Yes. Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? Yes. And Prohl.
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Unless anybody has anything they'd like to add this evening, that concludes our business for this evening. Thanks for your patience. I'm a little slow with moving the cameras around, but I'll get better at it, I'm sure, as time goes. It's been, we'll see how it goes when I look at it after I get home, and see how the sound goes. Hopefully I've turned it down, it's a little better this time. Anybody have anything they'd like to add for the evening? And I'm sorry to, if you feel that I'm not seeing you on either sides of the table, it's because now I got to look at both sides of the room rather than just a screen like we were with Zoom. So I'm not ignoring anybody. Motion to adjourn by Ms. Lewis, seconded by Ms. Nickerson. Roll call on the motion to adjourn.
Phillips?
Yes.
Kane? Yes. Nickerson? Yes. Tatman?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Corcoran? Yes. And Prohl.
Yes.
Everybody have a wonderful evening.